Hi all. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about something that's shaping up to be one of the highlights of the year for independent optometry. It's the OptiPro Roadshow 2025. And if you're an avid listener of the podcast, I'm sure you're very passionate about the future of eye care. If that's the case, the Roadshow is something you want to be a part of. This event series will take place in Sydney on the 26th of September, Brisbane on the 10th of October, and Perth on the 17th of October. Expect supplier showcases, keynote presentations, networking, and tailored content that speaks directly to the challenge and opportunities in independent practices today. Spots are filling fast, so register at optipro.com.au.
Welcome to The Focused View, the podcast for eye care professionals across Australia. Brought to you by Opticare. In each episode, we bring together leading eye care, optical and business professionals to share valuable insights, practical tips, and the latest trends shaping the optical business landscape. I'm your host, Michael Nasser, and together we'll explore innovative strategies for practice growth, patient care, and business success in the eye care industry. Whether you're starting your career, managing a practice, or just looking to stay ahead of the field, The Focused View is your source for inspiration and knowledge.
On today's episode, we're spotlighting a group that's actively shaping the future of optometry in Australia, Young Optometrists New South Wales and ACT. Joining us are members of the leadership team, Yegya Garibian, Celine Zhang, and Anne Tran. Together, we explore how this dynamic team is supporting students and early career optometrists through some of the most pivotal stages of their journey, from the transition out of university to navigating the challenges of those first years in practice. We'll also discuss the role young optometrists play in helping new graduates weigh up career paths, build community, and stay connected to a profession that's constantly evolving. If you're curious about what's next for this profession and who's helping lead the charge, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Hello, team, and welcome to the show.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
I'm Meg.
So I'm really grateful for you guys being on board. You know, I'm really excited about today's episode as well and the things that we're going to discuss, especially for, I guess, the younger optometrists that are out there, obviously in line with your name. But in any case, for the purposes of our guests and our listeners, can you start off by introducing a little bit about yourselves, your current roles, and I guess what drew you to join Young Optometrists? If we want to start with Anne.
Yes, hi everyone. So my name is Anne. I am the social media and publications officer for Young Optometrists. So I've been part of the committee since 2021, but ever since I graduated optometry in 2020, I've always been in Young Optometrists as a student member and then also as a full member as well. I attended some events, I knew some team members, so it was a really good relationship to start with. What drew me into, I guess, joining Young Optometrists and the team would probably be in end of 2021. That was end of the second year of me working. Started feeling a little bit burnt out. I also started having some questions on what kind of other things I wanted to do in my career. And I felt that locally, because I was working regionally as well, the support group I had was a bit smaller, couldn't really ask them for any questions. So I reached out to the Young Optometrist team, got some good advice, made some good friends. And I guess I also realized that Young Optometrists, it's a really great venue where there's a lot of like-minded people. We all want to improve the profession. We're quite passionate with what we do. So since then I joined the team to help out and help make a difference.
Nice. Celine?
Well, hi everybody. My name's Celine Zhang. My current role in Young Optometrists is as co-secretary, but I've done a few over the years, including Anne's job as publications officer. So I've been in Young Optometrists as a student member and as part of the committee since I graduated. I just knew so many amazing optometrists and they all looked like they were having fun. So I thought, might as well join in. And here we are, 8 years later.
And Yegya?
My name is Yegya Garibian. I've been a part of Young Optometrists like Anne and Celine as a student member. I can actually remember my first event, which was how to find your niche in optometry. And from that event, I was quite inspired by the guest speakers who were very passionate and they all had like-minded goals in terms of wanting the best for the profession and wanting the best for their careers. And I was very fortunate to also meet some of the executive members at that event too, who when it's just speaking to them, you can see the passion in their eyes, which really radiated to me. And throughout my student journey and even beyond graduating, I joined the team as a member firstly, and then wanted to volunteer as a subcommittee member. Then I joined the executive team, and I am now co-chair for the past year.
Cool. For the context of where you guys are each situationally based with regards to work, can you speak a little bit more as to, I guess, the nature of where you're currently employed with regards to, are you a corporate, are you independent, what type of practices that you're working in? You don't have to disclose where necessarily, but just a little bit more context around that.
So I guess I'll go first since I introduced myself first. I first started out corporate, done 2 years in corporate, and then I moved back to Sydney and I did 2 years independent practice. And I recently moved out and went back to corporate practice again.
Okay.
For me, as a student, I started out in independent practice, and that's where I've stayed since then. So now I'm working in a full scope practice as a behavioural optometrist in iCare Plus in Bankstown and in Karila, and loving it.
Yeah.
So I'm currently in full scope independent practice. I'm working in a family clinic, so I was very fortunate to have family members who inspired me as one of the reasons why I did optometry. But initially it wasn't like that, in the sense that when I first graduated, I also delved my toes into different areas and worked in corporate, worked in locum settings. I've also done school screenings, so kind of dipped my toes all around, but predominantly right now I am in independent practice.
Nice. I guess it sounds like there's a bit of a broad scope with regards to the experience that you guys have had. So I guess when we go and speak about the questions and I guess get further into the conversation, there is that real concept which we'll deep dive as we sort of go on. If we take it a step back, why was Young Optometrists created? And I guess what's its mission and how has it evolved over time, if we speak specifically about the organisation itself?
So the organisation was founded in 2011 by a group of final year optometry students, and it was founded to support the needs of graduate optometrists in their first 10 years of practice. And it has evolved over time to advocate not only for optometrists but also optometry students, and cater to allow optometrists to find their passion and find their feet in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Celine or Anne, do you want to add anything else to that? Or that hit the spot, did it?
I hope that was a nice summary.
It was an excellent summary. I'm really glad that there was a group of passionate optometrists who saw a little gap in the support network and they created that themselves. And it's definitely grown for sure.
So how does it actually help optometrist support, or how do you guys help young optometrists support students or anyone else across different stages of their degree? And I guess if we take it back to where that starting point is, which seems to be from uni, I guess, so first year in, and then obviously as we transition through to the practice, from that initial stages, how are you guys assisting optometry students in that regard?
In regards to supporting...
No, you go, yeah.
We'll both answer this one. In regards to supporting optometry students, we don't only do optometry events, like educational events for students, but events in general are open to all students. And we do have specific events which we cater to final year optometry students. Like in July, we did it was Ask an Optom Q&A style event, and we invited the final year optometry students, and we had prepared an agenda which consisted of a panel of our team, our young optometrist team, and they were very much able to ask any questions they had that helped them in terms of finding their feet within the industry beyond graduation. So on the panel, we had optometrists from an independent background, optometrists in their first year of practice, optometrists who are locuming and also doing research, and optometrists who have started their own practice. So those are the type of events we do. Going further than that, in terms of other student-focused events, we've got an event that's going to cater to supporting optometry students in preparations for their final year therapeutic exams later this year. And at the start of each year, right after they finish their studies, we hold a YO boot camp, which is an optometry 101 type event. And we go through all things involved and how to practice as an optometrist, not just in the clinical setting, but also things like managing time, managing work-life balance, managing finances, stresses, all these different things. So yeah, we cater to optometrists and optometry students across the industry, and I'll pass it back on to Anne and to add.
Yeah, I guess like our main goal and our mission has always been to, yes, what Yegia said, not just support students, but especially optometrists that are coming out in their first couple of years. I guess when we're students and when we just start practicing, there's so many questions that we're not sure about the industry. We're a bit scared about asking senior optometrists or asking older optometrists. And then there's always that factor of not wanting to put our hands up. So we want to create a community and a network where we can help support them, not just, I guess, through these CPD events, which we're so proud of, but also being able to give them that like individual support where they can feel empowered to make their own career choices or to learn more about things and to upskill themselves in different like skills that they haven't learned in uni. That's our main goal, to support them. And yeah, as what Yegia mentioned, we're not for profit. We're here to just, we don't really have any, I guess, financial standing in a way. We're not here to make money. We just want to support optometrists and students individually. Yeah.
And I guess from that point of view, and you touch on a really interesting point there, that it's volunteer based, right? So you guys are just doing this out of the love of your heart as opposed to anything else. And that obviously, when you throw that into the mix, that makes it a little bit more challenging, I'd assume.
Yes. Challenging, but I think at the end of the day, whenever we see like students come up to us and give us feedback, and even optoms in our grade giving us feedback and joining the team, it just makes everything much worth it. And that's why we continue doing what we do.
That's true. It's selfish in a way, we want to create a community that we want to be part of as well. So yeah, love it. We just make friends and we learn along the way, and we've got a lovely support network. That's what we want to foster. Because we do have social events and things too. Like, for example, we had some pickleball planned. We have an annual Christmas party, which you're definitely very much invited to, Michael.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, and we're planning a Pilates session too. So, Michael, if you're also interested.
I'll skip that one.
No.
Absolutely not. I appreciate the invite, but the pickleball sounds interesting. What's that about?
No, we're literally just going to play pickleball.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, and excuse me. Pickleball is that?
It's like a tennis, but a mini version of tennis.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still very competitive.
Well, I can imagine, especially sort of between optoms. It's like,
yes.
it's like, but I do like the fact that you guys obviously, or it's been created to support you guys, and you know it better than anyone else, and you've all sort of recently graduated, and so you understand the challenges. But when it comes to those challenges or those concerns that you hear or that you assist students or, recently, I guess, graduated students, whether they're entering the workforce or whether it's through uni, what are some of the biggest challenges or concerns that you guys hear about or assist with in that regard?
Yeah, for sure. As Anne said, as she mentioned, there's a huge leap between like uni and the workforce. Of course, they come out knowing everything about, the best textbook knowledge, and they've got experienced mentors and lecturers helping them out. And then all of a sudden they're alone in a room with nothing but themselves and the patient. So it can be a bit of a stressor to them. I guess the other thing is finding employment. That's a new one that's really cropped up, is just generally finding employment, and then finding employment in the desired location, which is usually Metro Sydney, which, as you know, is pretty saturated at the minute. The other thing is they might also worry about the career pathway. They've graduated, they're an optometrist. Now what? There's always that little bit of a question that they have. And sometimes they can feel a little bit underprepared to manage like cases due to their own like limited exposure to them, or they might just feel a little bit uncertain with the decision making. Yeah. In the context of a business setting as well.
Yeah. And Yegia, do you see that to be the same sort of concerns that you guys are dealing with from that point of view?
For sure. That's one of the main concerns final year optometry students always have. They studied hard to get, firstly, the marks to get into optometry, and then going through a 5-year course, they want to know where they're going. They studied this course for a reason. They want to help people. They want to be leaders of change. So when doors are closing on them, it's not the best for them. So we're here to really reignite the passion in them that first got them into optometry and we do that through our events, through a sense of community. So
that's almost my next question. How are you bridging that gap? So obviously you've identified, and you guys would identify it because you've obviously lived it as well. So those daunting, I guess, thoughts that you have sort of at the end of uni, as you're going through and stepping into the real world, whether it's that first consultation that you're actually doing on your own and all that sort of stuff. How do you guys help? I guess, how does the network help support students with specific? I know we've mentioned some events as well, so it's obviously some of those. But what other, I guess, initiatives do you guys work on that enable the young optoms to bridge that gap between the clinical side of the study and then the real world practice side of it all?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that we found, and I guess it's also based on our experience and our personal experiences as well, right? What Yegi and what Celine touched on a lot is that there's a lot of things that we didn't really know, like looking at contracts. And then even when starting practice, small things like Medicare billing, note-taking properly, legal aspects of practicing, we had no idea. And also a biggest thing that we found ourselves personally is we also struggled a bit with things like personal finance. Like, how do we do our taxes? How do we even figure out things like how to deal with mental stress, mental health stress, like burnout and everything like that, right? So from all of this, we then decide, yes, let's create some very impactful, very meaningful events that are not just networking events where we can talk to students, but also like upskilling and events that can help them be able to create these skills to bring themselves out into the workforce. What Yegi touched on, which was really, really good, and what we're very proud of doing, is that we have two main events. One at the end of the year that's mainly just for students, and for fifth-year students that are just about to come out. For fifth-year students, they usually do this oral therapeutic exam. And for our team, we create a young optometrist therapeutic study session. So we have a bunch of volunteer optometrists too. They come in with really interesting therapeutic cases, and most of the time they're doing their own research, they're creating questions, and then they're asking these students kind of in like a mock exam preparation mode. And this is I think we're like the only team that does this for students coming out.
Wow.
It allows the students to feel very prepared. They know exactly like points that they're missing or points that they're good on. And that's one of our biggest, most proud event I'd say that we do. We put a lot of effort in that. And then early on in the year, before they start going into practice, we do this thing called annual boot camp. And for this boot camp, we have, same thing, a bunch of optometrists and a bunch of other people in the industry that come in and help us as well. We do 20, 30-minute quick talks about different things like Medicare billing, legal aspects of practicing, burnout time management, and even ways to upskill yourself as well. And so we have a lot of good collaborations with people in the industry. And that is something that we let the students learn a little bit more. And that just gives them a lot of, knowledge and confidence when they step into their new role. And do you want to talk a little bit more about the ASA Optom events? So I think that's also one of our really good events that happened recently. That was, very helpful for the students as well.
Yeah, we haven't actually been doing that as long as we've been doing the mock oral exams. We found over time, and so I'll probably go back to my own personal experience as an optometry student. I felt a sense of belonging and community within the Young Optometry Network. And that was from the connections I started first with that first event that I went to. And any small questions you would have, you would know that you've got someone to ask a question to that really has been in your shoes. And that's what we are. So we're just like the optometry students, but a few years ahead in their kind of future. So we try and really cater to what they are looking for, the questions they have. That's why the panel style event, we try to also give different perspectives, and because not everyone wants to be in corporate, not everyone wants to jump into independent, not everyone wants to be a clinical officer. Some people want to do research. So we try to give a little bit of a taster for everyone.
And I think what's really, really cool about what you guys are mentioning there is obviously when there's a uni context of things, there's always a big sort of push on social, right? And it's about, socializing and, being friendly and all that sort of stuff. But it seems like the events that you're creating are super specific and tailored to, I guess, address a concern. And so when you can marry that up with the social aspect too, which is inevitable, you're getting two birds with one stone. And so, you're addressing a need that's out there and that, I guess students are facing, but with real practical advice, it's going to help them, I guess, overcome that challenge that you guys have experienced and your colleagues, before you have, and I guess have helped you in that regard. So I guess when you hear it like that, it's quite, I guess, common sense, but it's also empowering that facility is also being created. If we take it a next step and we look at the early career optoms, so, you've mentioned up to 10 years out. So, we're beyond that sort of student phase and we've graduated and we're in practice now where we're a couple of years in and up to 10 years. I guess, what are the challenges that you see or you've seen within the network with regards to those early career optometrists and the challenges they face? I mean, we mentioned burnout, we've mentioned, mental health, but finances. Are they largely repeated too, or are there other different, I guess, challenges that are noticed from optoms when they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years out?
Yeah, I think every challenge is unique to the individual and also highly dependent on the workplace. So, of course, there are some repeated themes. I think the main thing is the first year or two, they're just building clinical confidence, trying not to miss anything, and just trying to do this within a business setting as well. Because we go from having like 2 hours with the patient to 15 to 30 minutes. So, yeah, it's a pretty big leap. I guess there's also the commercial and sort of clinical pressure that might exist in some practice settings, like meeting KPIs. Yeah, that sort of thing. And it can lead to a bit of internal conflict because you want to do the best by the patient. But sometimes you're like, oh, do we need to sell a pair of glasses?
Yeah.
Of course, that's very different in different settings, but that's Absolutely. What I've heard, right?
I mean, well, the premise and the foresight that I get to see with some of the conversations I have, and you guys would know it because you're in practice, 70 or between 60 and 80% of the revenue of a practice is generated by the sale of frame and lenses, right? And so we're in a very unique industry where we blend clinical care with retail. And it's the retail that really, unless you're private billing and you're private billing quite excessively, it's the retail component that's really lifting the business up. And I can imagine as optometrists, there is that conflict, that internal battle of, how am I going to manage this KPI with regards to the needs of the patient? So I can imagine, and that's probably another question for another day, but I could imagine that's definitely something a lot of, especially younger optoms have to struggle with because you've gone through uni, you've done, all the clinical stuff and there's been no business component on it at all. And all of a sudden you're thrown into the real world and it's like, well, hold on, you've got to convert this because we need to make money and all that sort of stuff. And that could be quite challenging. So I could totally see how that would be something that, an early optom, a couple of years out would definitely struggle with. Is there anything else?
Yeah, for sure. I think from like an optometrist perspective, I don't know if it happened to everyone else, but there's also the challenge of wanting to upskill and sort of trying to keep up with everything as well. I mean, when you graduate from uni, all the best of the best, but it keeps evolving and it just feels really overwhelming sometimes, especially in a full scope practice. There's just so much to do. You got to do advanced dry eye, IPL, myopia control, advanced contact lenses, vision therapy, behavioral optometry, like the list goes on. So yeah, there's always that challenge.
And yeah, you'd mentioned that it was that niching network or that niching event specifically that I guess was that, I'm not sure if that was your first interaction with young optometrists or if that was one that you got a lot of value out, but I guess identifying that more and more and it becoming an important factor with regards to how you guys are practicing, how does that affect you all?
So that was my first event that I attended. And I guess the reason I attended at the time as a fourth year optometry student, it was very fascinating to learn your basic skills, which involves refraction and ocular health testing. But I wanted to see what else there was out there. And hearing about advanced contact lens cases and hearing about sports vision was really insightful at the time. And I didn't know what my niche was. So I wanted to know what other people were doing. And it was really inspiring to hear their talks. And as Celine said, the industry is constantly evolving. IPL, dry eye treatments, things are always changing. But what has been a constant for me since that first event was the sense of community that I started establishing within young optometrists. So when I do get an advanced contact lens case, like I had with a pediatric patient in the last week, I'm discussing with Sheila. When I do have a pediatric case when I'm not sure in terms of how to manage the vision therapy or how to manage this pediatric case, I'm talking with Celine and Megan. And a sense of community has definitely also helped me. Yes, we're volunteering, but I don't think I'll be the optometrist I am today without young optometrists. So that's where we really come in. It's the connections we bring along the way at these events, the little talks we have. That's what gets us places.
Yeah, and it seems that it really would enhance then your professional offerings and your services and the service that you can then obviously provide your patients too. That networking, obviously, for that deeper purpose. Yeah, that would totally make sense. Have you guys observed any other common themes with regards to, recent grads, or, a couple of years in? Again, we've mentioned burnout, decision fatigue, professional isolation. What are some of those other main sort of messages that you hear other than support within the consultation room? And how do you address those? Is it with those networking events and just general socializing?
I guess another thing that we get is most young optometrists who are in our late 20s or early 30s. This is a time to flourish, travel, have fun, settle down, have a family. And then at some points, people are like, is optometry really for me? I mean, that's a question that crops up for some people stronger than others, but in most people. So, we're open to those conversations. I think what we do as young optometrists is we also invest in ourselves as committee members too. So the majority of us are actually mental health first aid trained. So we try our best to be there for people. Obviously, that was a bit of a course that we had to take, but, it was so very worth it.
Right.
Yeah. So not just us, hopefully passing that on to our subcommittee members and also just our general members too. And just the wider community where we represent ourselves, like, for example, right now.
And I feel like, mental health in particular is obviously such an important aspect that it really in the last couple of years has come to the fore in society in general. And obviously understanding those pressures as you do with regards to the industry and being able to speak to that and being supportive, of your fellow colleagues. I think that's, again, empowering and quite inspiring. If we change tunes a little bit, with regards to, you've mentioned sort of, finishing up uni, and a lot of the times, we've mentioned these terms, independent, corporate, obviously we've got a little bit of a context there. If we want to give some insights, I guess, from your opinion with regards to the difference here, you obviously, I think everyone here has worked in a little bit, but I think, Celine, you said you've pretty much been specifically in independent, but obviously, across the board, you would have heard experiences from that corporate point of view. Can you start to speak with regards to the differences between the two and what stood out with each environment?
Yeah. So I guess for me, I might have like a little bit of an experience for that because I've kind of dove my feet, I guess I'd say, evenly into both corporate and independent practice. I guess I started out in corporate first. So one of the positives that I kind of got out of it was it gave me the ability to, I guess, learn things very quickly and adapt very quickly. I guess I had the opportunity of like seeing patients in good volume and also with the regional experience as well. It meant that I was able to learn a lot of complex cases, learn how to co-manage things. And I was also very, very lucky to have a very good mentor and a really good optom team. So I learned a lot from them. I didn't really feel at any point that I didn't have the support. And so I was able to experience what leadership and organization looks like from a very successful business. That's what I learned. And I guess in a way, personally, the reason why I kind of wanted to experience what independent practice was like is that was very good for me. But then after doing that for a couple of years, I also had that question like, what's next? I wanted to become, I guess, a better optom in terms of specializing in something different. And unfortunately, in my corporate practice, just in that regional area as well, it was hard for me to learn what I wanted to do. And in my case, it was learning, I wanted to be a bit more into pediatric and I wanted to do a bit more myopia control. And there was no kids that was myopic in where I was practicing at all, right? So I guess that was when I moved back to Sydney. I wanted to try to be in an independent practice so I can learn a little bit more. For me, in that independent practice, I learned a lot of skills, and I think also becoming an optometrist independently as well. In independent practice, you learn a lot that you're not just in the clinic room. You're out there, you're with the patient. You might be with the patient for most of their journey as well if the practice is really busy. And I think being in a small practice, it helps me a lot in learning that. I gained a lot of valuable experience from that. And I also was able to practice the way I wanted to practice. I had a lot more autonomy. I had a lot more say in what I want to do, even lenses I want to prescribe. And that really broadened my own personal experience a lot more. And I thrived in that too.
Yeah, I think you've had a bit of experience in both as well. I mean, I guess from your opinion, what do you see as the differences? And, not what did you enjoy necessarily, but what values did you get out of each experience?
It would be really what Anne alluded to as well, in the sense that when we go to the corporate setting, it's very much structured. And I do personally like discipline. I do like to have a set system, and I do thrive in those environments. But at the same time, I also like autonomy in terms of how to manage my patient the way I want to. Because the reason I'm doing optometry is quite passionate about the problem-solving element for my patient and having the conversation with the patient, giving the range of options that I want to give. So that's the main take I've taken from both. So there's no right or wrong. There's just different systems. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Celine, is there anything you wanted to add from the point of view, or?
No, I agree with what both of them say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sort of things that just drew to me then, Anne, you mentioned, you had a specific reason as to why you wanted to change, looking at more sort of that myopia management with regards to, and pediatric. And you've mentioned the reason, right? So the reason why you got into optometry and what you wanted to do. And I feel like what's happening more and more, and with groups like yours, I imagine, and then just the readily available information that's out there with regards to CPD and education, there really is a big push now to become a specialist or to focus in on an area or the niche, as you like to say. And I think from my observations, being in that independent setting allows you to really dabble in those areas. If you've identified that as a reason, as something that's important to you, obviously there's a whole, pathway with regards to how to do that. And that's where, a group like yours can also assist in that regard. But, you've spoken, to the benefits of each, and also perhaps maybe let's look at some misconceptions of both of them too. So, from your experience now, having had both of those experiences, what would you think some of the myths or misconceptions that a new grad might think with either of these pathways, whether they're positive or negative? Is there anything that, upon reflection, you're like, I walked into it thinking this, and then I've walked away going, oh, hold on, it's actually more like this? And is there anything that, tips-wise that you can provide out there to, especially to students that are probably going through these particular thoughts at this time?
For me first, one of the misconceptions that I had, or myths that I had, was when first starting out and you choosing your first graduating role, you should go for, the best, highest paying offer. Yeah. And it's relatable, right? Because you're coming out, you're a student, it's your first big full-time role. And also a sense that I was also broke or with debt as well, right? First thing I just wanted to do was get a job that paid the bills really, really well. And look, money is important. And if that's what they want to do, that's totally fine as well, right? Kudos to that. But then sometimes, you might have to, it's important to also think back about, what type of optometrist you want to be. And sometimes in those high paying roles, which most likely now is probably corporate, learning from the experience, sometimes they just don't have the capacity for you to have that autonomy and learn different skill. So what I also personally experience is that your graduating role is really important. It shouldn't just be anything that's whatever's available to you, because your graduating role is the role that it will define how you practice in the following years to come too. So if, for example, you are looking to specialize or looking to upskill or do something very different, then it's probably best not to go for that high paying role, or look at other opportunities first before deciding and then go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my opinion is being independent my whole time. I think one of the myths about being an independent optometrist is that it's not as high paying as a corporate job. And that's not always the case, especially in cases where you've got a special interest if you've got a special interest, for sure. I think talking to my other colleagues, it's fairly similar. I think it evens out over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely see some very high figures for first year out. So that's very attractive.
I guess if
sucks you in.
That's it. Numbers talk, I guess, when you're sitting there going, you've just, spent 5 years and not earning much, and all of a sudden you see this big pay packet. It's quite easy where you understand why you beeline for that.
Yes.
I think, being strategic, though, I think is a critical part of that. And that's the whole point. I guess I asked that question, and especially for those students that are mindful of, if they've got that bigger picture already in play, and some do, not all, but some do. And it's think about where you want to position yourself and how you want to get there and be strategic. And it's hard to say this, but it's not always about the money. It's about the experience, I guess. And if you're getting something addressed in that point of view, then you can perhaps forego a little bit because you're thinking about the big play. Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that?
I do actually. Another common myth or misconception would probably be that a corporate's a corporate and an independent's an independent, because no two independents are the same and no two corporates are the same as well. So get to know the people that are involved and have discussions about what's expected. Really understand what you're getting yourself into and what's expected of you, so then you're not into the surprises. So salary is definitely one aspect to consider. it's also about career growth and what you're going to get out of your first grad job too. So I think sometimes also the area of practice, rural, regional discussions too, metro. So yeah, there's a lot to consider when making your decision. But one of the myths I would say, I'm in corporate and so I'm upset to do this way. It's not always like that, and it's the same with independence too.
I guess on both sides of the equation, there's good and there's bad, and the individuals that you come across, they could be in corporate, they could be in independent. I guess so it is a little bit of a luck of the draw. How do you guys balance supporting both corporate and independent members? Because I would imagine as young optometrists, you've got no preference. You support all optometrists. How do you manage, I guess, the interests of either, or is it all the same? It doesn't make a difference at all.
Yeah, I guess for us, it doesn't make too much of a difference because at the end of the day, same thing. We're not biased. We're not for profit. We don't have any financial gain. Our goal is just to help the individual optometrist who needs help and support. So yeah, we're just there to help. And you can also see as well for us, like us three here, we're all quite diverse in the roles that we are: independent practice, corporate, and then we have a lot of our team members. Some are like employers, some are employees. So we have a really good range. And because of that, we can support our members in many different ways. And I guess going back to what we were talking before with like new grads coming out and choosing their roles and the myths and conceptions of corporate independent practice, a big thing that we encourage our members to do or students to do is like before signing or anything, reach out to us, even ask us like what our experience is with even an individual practice, because our community is so big and our network is big and the optometry community is pretty small. In most cases, we kind of have some insight or maybe some previous experience, or one of our members might have an experience about that practice. So that might give the person a bit more advice, a bit more confidence in choosing something that they want to do.
If I could just hone in on that a little bit, because I think that's a super important point. I feel like a lot of you guys, if it's not you individually, the network, someone in the network has walked the path before. And so, if they reach out to you for support, just out of curiosity, is that something that you guys do? Like, let's say, someone's listening to this and they're like, oh, I'm about to sign up to something or I'm thinking of something, but I'm not a young optometrist member. Obviously, they should be joining. That's obvious. But do you offer support like that, just sort of without them joining, or how does that work? And can they get that sort of that advice or, that guidance, or they have to sort of join to get that advice?
I don't think we've had that issue yet because they're usually students who are student young optometrists, which is a free membership.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Solve that problem.
Is, as we said, Michael, we're just a community. We're just friends. Yeah. We all know each other. We can all chat. And hopefully they join in as a young optometrist member.
Yeah, nice.
But we don't encounter that often.
No, okay. That's good. That's good.
Not yet.
That's good to know. And I guess, did you want to add anything with regards to how whether it's independent or corporate with regards to the support that's offered?
I guess for the listeners on that last point, our door is open. If there are optometry students or recent graduates who are feeling quite isolated and not sure who to kind of go to for the issues they have, that's why we're here. So definitely, even if you're not a member, reach out.
Yeah. And in my talkings, and I get to speak to a lot of different people in a lot of different contexts, the one take home I get is that everyone's up for a chat in this industry. So as a broader message, generally, success leaves clues. Don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are people that have walked the path. If you are being sort of ambitious or if you're being strategic with regards to where you want your career to end up and how you want it to end up, it's quite pretty clear to find somebody that's already done it and then reach out and ask them and be strategic about asking them. Because I think the one thing that I've seen with anyone that's been successful across the people that I've interviewed or spoken to, it's specifically that they've gone out and asked questions. They haven't been afraid to do it. They haven't been worried. There might have been some initial hesitation, but they've been able to fight through that. And similarly with what you guys are offering, and I feel like it's very much a low barrier. It's not a intimidating task because you guys are all, like you said, mates, colleagues, and so you've got that ability to come in from that angle as opposed to it being a really, commercially natured approach or a business invested approach. It's really like we're here as mates to help you. So as a starting point for anyone out there, I think it's good to know that there is that support from that point of view. Okay, if we again change tunes a little bit and we look more at the industry as a whole and your take on it, what makes young optometrists different to other industry bodies? And I guess maybe touching on the relevant industry bodies that you guys interact with and experience and any feedback that you have in that regard.
We are very much an independent body that is for the optometrists, more specifically the young optometrist, the young optometry student, the early career optometrist. And we're there for them to discover their passion, to support them on their journey, whether it's any questions they may have about taking a job offer, any questions they might have in terms of finding their own niche, or even just a question from a case they saw that day. So we are a community, and that's how we've always been, and that's how we'll always be as well. We'll try to keep our doors open for a young generation of optometrists that are coming out. And I don't think there is any other organization that is doing what we're doing in terms of for the optometry students,
No,
for the young optometrists out there.
no, it's definitely from my experience, I haven't heard of or seen, not as well as you guys are doing in any case. And I think it's quite a good thing that you guys are doing. If we look at some grassroots movements that are sort of taking place at the moment, and again, this might strike a little bit of controversy, but hey, what's wrong with that? Let's talk about it. There are some movements that are really, I guess, for optometrists in particular, taking note. I guess I speak specifically of, the Frock to Free Friday movement and some things that are happening in that regard. I'd like to get your opinion on all of that. And again, I'm mindful of, other things that might relate to it. But from your point of view, what are your thoughts on them, and how do you see things like this fitting into the profession's future?
Yeah, I think like the movement like for Opto Free Friday, it gives a voice to optometrists. And I think that's something that's a little different in our industry, because optometrists, we're generally very nice. You never hear of a mean, angry optometrist. We're all pretty good-natured, and we're very go with the flow. So, and we hate conflict as well. So it's nice to have a voice that starts, new conversations.
Yeah.
It might not be, it's not going to solve issues overnight or anything, but it reminds me a bit of how Young Optometrists was founded too. We just wanted to give a voice to young optometrists, and it's just a little vehicle for change.
And Yagia, any thoughts? Well, Celine's pretty much.
Yeah, I think Celine's basically said what we also feel as well. I mean, I guess we kind of started very similar as well. We wanted to have a bit of some impact, do some changes. And whereas we might not be too similar to them in terms of they're very leading the whole industry action and asking for change for that. I guess for us, our goal is just to help the individual optometrists empower themselves. And I guess if they want to continue their career in optometry, be happy and feel fulfilled in their career. That's our goal. And
that's an
so
important message.
Yes, that's the main thing.
Yeah, but I think it does start some essential conversations, about the state of the current optometry industry, scope of practice, the sustainability of how we're going at the moment. Yeah.
And I think they're all topics that you probably have a vested interest in as well. So to hear perspectives and hear it spoken, I think is a good thing. And obviously, I guess what comes of it will come. So is there a vision of expanding optometrists beyond New South Wales and ACT? Because I'm led to believe it only is available if you're a New South Wales student or an ACT student, so New South Wales Uni or University of Canberra. What are I don't know, obviously volunteer, so I guess that's a big thing as well, but what are the plans for young optometrists going forward, and, some goals that you want to kick in that regard?
Yeah, look, ideally we would love to be supporting optometrists and optometry students across the country. It is more of a case of feet on the ground situation. Most of our team is in New South Wales and ACT, and we have kind of been expanding our kind of events to not just be in Sydney. We're going to the regional areas and also in Canberra. So I think small steps, and see what the future holds.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're coming to an end, and I've really appreciated your time to this particular point. But as we draw to a close, if you could leave one message with early career optoms listening, what would it be? And if we could get, I guess, an opinion of each, that'd be appreciated.
Yep. Well, for me, I think the biggest message is that I think there's definitely more opportunities in the industry than what students and younger optometrists may think. So I think it's very important just to broaden your mind, ask around, and you're right, just take the initiative to ask questions. And if you ever feel stuck, or even if you want to ask us for any advice or any questions, you can reach out to young optometrists. There's definitely someone there who's done a little bit of everything and can really help you with that. Yeah.
From my perspective, I think it's important to stay true to your why, as to why you wanted to pursue a rigorous educational career program where you went through many years of university, gone through all the examinations and assignments. And by staying true to your why, I think you will go down a path where you will follow through with your passion and find your feet in the industry. And at Young Optometrists, we're here to help you, whether it's your first steps or even a complete change in your direction and finding a different niche or working in a different setting. So we're here for the journey and the ride.
Mm-hmm. And I think my message for any young optometrist is, keep having fun and stay curious. If you're not having fun, why bother? So, yeah,
nice
keep enjoying it.
To the point.
And don't feel lonely. Come and reach out to us or anybody else. It's, as Michael said, we're all very chatty people.
And
in this industry.
And on that note, how can people connect with Young Optometrists or get involved? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yes. So if you're a student and you're listening to this, being a member for Young Optometrists is free. So you can definitely join. This will give you access to all of our CPD events, our networking events for free as well. For other optometrists, there is a small fee to join. All of this just helps us create a lot more of our interesting events as well. So you can see all of this on our website. It's www.yoptoms.com, so YOPTOMS.com. Or you can follow us on our socials. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we now have LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is a thing now. Yeah. So just search up Young Optometrists and you'll find us there.
Cool. And we'll make sure that those links are all in the show notes too. So if anyone's listening, you can jump onto the show notes or any of, the captions that we put up on socials and connect that way. And obviously, Celine and the team are very much willing to help. But guys, I wanted to thank you for your time this evening, and thanks for going through the things that we've gone through. I think it's really inspirational what you're doing, and I love the support that you're providing to the industry and to the optoms in particular. I think optoms would be silly not to make use of it, and I am excited about sort of the growth and where Young Optoms goes, because I really think from that point of view you're on a winner. So thank you so much for your time and your insights. It's really been appreciated.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for inviting us on.
I guess we'll see you at Pilates.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Cool. All righty, guys. We'll speak later. Take care.
Ciao later. See you.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Before we go, just a reminder about the OptiPro Roadshow in 2025. Whether you're a practice owner, manager, optometrist, dispenser, or student, there's something at the OptiPro Roadshow for you. So go to optipro.com.au to register. Hope to see you there.
Thank you for joining us on The Focused View, proudly presented by Opticare. It's been our privilege to share the insights and stories that resonate deeply with the eye care community. We hope today's episode has not only inspired you, but also armed you with the practical strategies and innovative ideas to help you enhance your practice and professional journey. If you found value in our conversation, we'd be grateful if you could leave us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform. And share this episode with your colleagues. It helps us reach more eye care professionals like you and grow our community of visionaries. Stay connected by subscribing to The Focused View and visiting our website www.thefocusedview.com.au for additional resources and episode summaries. We look forward to your company again in our next episode. Until then, keep focused. I'm Michael Nasser. Bye for now.